This Audi is the most impressive Audi from the 1980s. It is not a secret that Quattro, at the time of its introduction, was simply revolutionary, because it was the car that brought four-wheel drive to the rally world, and it also made four-wheel drive popular in regular civilian passenger production cars. Yes, Quattro was not the first one, but is the one that made it popular. Without Quattro, probably, we would never know what the safe driving is on slippery surfaces and how to use the engine power effectively on a rainy day. Or maybe Subaru would do the job. Who knows? So to be completely fair, and it's also worth mentioning that the permanent four-wheel drive passenger production car was introduced a little earlier, back in 1966. It is now little known Jensen FF Coupe that had a self-locking central differential and a V8 engine with 325 horsepower. But this car was never popular, and you probably never even heard about it. And also the price was astronomical for that time and for what it was. Another car is from 1979. It is AMC Eagle. This one is a little better known, and it was a great car actually. Equipped with all-wheel drive and for the first time received viscose differential lock that used liquid for transferring torque. But still, it's never became as popular. It's hard to say why. Maybe it was still too early, could have been wrong time and place, absence of rallies and low demand. And here is Audi Quattro that was revealed to the public in March of 1980 in Geneva Auto Show. Its future rally victories were perfectly used for marketing campaigns that brought out four-wheel drive system to the masses. Quattro four-wheel drive design was simpler than the cars mentioned earlier, with self-locking differentials, and Quattro engine is positioned longitudinally, and its differential is built in inside the gearbox, which is equally dividing the moment between the axes. And when the car is starting to slip on any of the four wheels, the driver had to activate the differential locks manually so that the car could keep a good traction. And today, looking back at the past, it becomes clear that Jensen and AMC Eagle were technically more advanced on slippery roads. It was easier for the driver due to the self-locking differential. However, no one used four-wheel drive in rally before Audi, which is why the success was already foreseen. In the first race it was used in 1980, Quattro was leading by the whole 9 minutes, and in the fall of 1981, everyone in the automotive world talked about Quattro. Michèle Mouton became the first woman to win one of the stages of the World Rally Championship in San Remo, proving the advantage of the four-wheel drive. And in 1982, Audi won the World Rally Championship for manufacturer's title. The civilian production model offered for sale in July 1980. It had 2.1-liter turbocharged engine with 200 horsepower and a four-wheel drive system. But what is even more interesting is another truly revolutionary model of the original Quattro that is known as Quattro Sport, which is a very exciting vehicle even now. This car disturbed many competitors in the rally world. Audi forced them to develop their own four-wheel drive systems, and by the 1984 competition season in the most prestigious Group B, another four-wheel drive car debuted. It was Peugeot 205 Turbo 16, which actually had some advantages in comparison to Quattro. It had a mid-engine layout and lower weight and dimensions. Audi foresaw that, and by 1984 rally season they developed the Sport Quattro model. And to improve the weight distribution and handling and weight reduction, it had a shorter wheelbase than a regular Quattro model. And under the hood it had a new inline 5-cylinder engine and an advanced, at that time, 4 valves per cylinder. And this promised an increase in power on high RPMs, and in addition to that, the engine got a huge turbo designed to produce big pressure. And all this compressed air was cooled by intercooler, and the fuel and air mixture was controlled by electronic injection system. The whole system on the civilian version put out 306 horsepower from just a 2.1-liter engine, which meant 145 horsepower per 1 liter, and that's a power level of BMW M3 series from 2016, and the top Quattro Sport S1 version made up to 500 horsepower. Its four-wheel drive system was similar to the one on the regular Quattro, but the 5-speed manual transmission received different gear ratios and reinforced gears. With RPMs up to 3000, there was nothing special, while it was just a turbo lag, and then at 4000 you would get a sudden hit in the back with a rocket-like acceleration. There were no cars in 1984 available in production that were able to do 0 to 60 miles an hour in just 4.7 seconds. And again, thanks to the four-wheel drive, such a result was possible at any weather. Its competition, Peugeot 205 Turbo 16, could only do the same in 7 seconds, and Ford RS200 were not any better. None of the available supercars could even get any better results. 400 horsepower Ferrari GTO 0 to 60 miles an hour time was 4.8 seconds. The same was for Lamborghini Countach, but still was a little better than Porsche 911. Some kind of competition could only be offered by some kind of custom versions of AMG or BMW Alpina. The Quattro could do 1 kilometer in 24.6 seconds, and this result corresponds to the level of BMW M3 Evo from 1995, but the M3 simply did not even exist at that time, and also did not exist the monstrous 6-liter AMG Hummer. And as for the other equipment, Sport Quattro had 6-piston caliper brakes all around with perforated and ventilated discs. And on the move, car felt tight, especially having rally suspension, and while going through corners it was just phenomenally stable. The interior had an expensive leather Recaro sport seats with great side support and many adjustments. The quality plastics used on the front panel were pleasing, and the decent Audi-owned sound system was available. Gauge cluster had a turbo bar indicator right in the middle, and the speedometer scaled up to 300 kilometers an hour. The center console had a temperature indicator of the engine and oil, as well as the oil pressure right above the differential lock controller. And well, the only drawback of the interior was the second row seats that had no free space at all, and the exterior of the Sport Quattro could be easily recognized by the shorter profile, while their fenders, unique bumpers and the unique headlights with a cutout on the hood. And the considerable contribution to the weight reduction was made by the body itself. Out of metal were made only doors and bottoms of the door frames. The rest of the elements were made from Kevlar and fiberglass. That is why the mass of the coupe, with all the complexity of the design and reinforcements, weighing only 1,290 kilograms. From the February of 1984 to January 96, 214 Sport Quattros were produced. 164 of them were sold to the private owners, 19 were left for Audi for experiments, 20 were sold to sport companies, and 11 more reserved. Then in 1988, 5 reserved cars were sold to the private owners with a starting price tag of 200,000 Deutsche Marks, while in the same time 200 horsepower regular Quattro was on sale for 70,000 Deutsche Mark. Audi Quattro and its rally program influence on motorsport and greater automotive community are still apparent today, with champion titles and groundbreaking technologies introduced in Sport Quattro, and its variants were an undisputed success. Lessons learned from building and racing the car would later be effectively applied in Audi's production cars. That's all I have for you today, guys. Check out my channel for my other videos, but for now, thanks for watching and see you in the next one. Longitudinally, and its variants were an undisputed